In the previous class, what we discussed it was just an introduction to Selenium. Okay, so we studied how like Selenium works and how it is going to help us. So basically, what are the pain areas that we are having with Selenium is going to fulfill, and we discussed why we are going to use Java also, and certain all the different components that Selenium is having. So we have already discussed about them in just brief. So today we are going to discuss a little deeper about one of its component, which is called Selenium IDE, and we'll have another introduction to Selenium RC as well. See, in module 3 we have like Selenium IDE, which we're going to use. It's just a plugin for Firefox. So you need to go and install it from Firefox plugin store, or you can go to Selenium IDE page, Selenium website, and download it from there for Firefox. So let's get started. So I'll start presenting. You guys can see my screen.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have. So we're going to start with module 3, Selenium ID and RC introduction. Okay. Good. So why actually we need an ID? That's the first concern. Like why we need an ID. See, IDE is like its name says, integrated development environment. So if you want to develop something, if you want to develop like something which is going to be tested, or you want to create something, some sort of scripts which is going to run and automate your task, you need to create it in its own, like in the same place where you are going to test it. When you are testing manually, you are using your browser, and if you want to create something which can test the browser, it should be integrated within that browser only. You should have certain tools available which will help you during your uh, during your testing phase. So we have Selenium IDE, which is a Firefox plugin. You need to install it, and you need to continue doing the same task like you used to do like manually. So when you like test it manually and you have the tool there, the tool will actually record it. So we need something like if you face if you are a manual tester, okay, and you are going to put a bug because you found something wrong in the code, and you need to write down the steps like how to reproduce it. So maybe it will be more intuitive if you want to like give a script with that. So if you want to put a bug and if you attach a Selenium script over there, then the developer or the concerned person who is going to like see what the bug is and how it's going to be reproduced, he can just play it, and the bug is going to be played before him. So this is one like example of ID, like why ID is going to help you. So it'll basically help you to quickly record and replay the bug reproduction steps. And of course, if you have like once created that Selenium script, and if you want to change the variable, suppose you want to, if you want to give an email ID and you have tested it, so tomorrow if you want to give another email ID and test it, you don't need to like don't have to do a lot of tasks. You'll have certain places in that script in which you can go and check the like change the email ID. So this is basically like going to help you to learn how automated testing is happening, like what are the things, so different commands. So you will have certain commands in this ID. So those commands are going to be helped, like going to be used in while you are going to learn Selenium WebDriver. So it will just give you some introduction how basically this automated testing works and what are the different things. Okay, moving to the next slide, and yeah, so Selenium ID is going to for testing Selenium's tests. Okay, then it's a Firefox plugin, and it'll help you to record, edit, replay functionalities. So when you record something, later you can replay it, and if you want to make some modification on that, you can do that, and also you can replay that again. So that's a tool which is going to help you record, then save it, then later modify it, replay it, like create the test suites and all. So it'll help you to export into a specific programming language, so that like what happens when we move ahead, when we move out of Selenium ID, because there might be certain problems in Selenium ID which is not going to be handled by itself. So we need to learn something more. That's when Selenium WebDriver comes into picture. Okay, so when you have certain things like you want to do some sort of read a database, okay, using code, read a database, pick certain values and then put them into the Selenium, like put them for testing, or move to a different site, or call a web service, get some data, then use them for testing, okay, or open some Excel file, read some data from there and use those data to run your test case. So when these sort of things come, we can't use Selenium IDE over there. It's just for basic purposes. Okay, so when you have such a scenario, so at that point of time, you need to have like you need to learn some language, programming language, or you need to learn Selenium WebDriver, how it is done using some programming language. So as we focus more into Java, so we'll be talking more about Java and Selenium. So now we're seeing a feature of Selenium IDE which says that if you have already created a Selenium IDE script, okay, and if you have if you need something more to do, and if you need to export those code into Java, those scripts into Java, so it's available. It's a reverse engineering tool, or it's a code generation tool, you can say. Whatever record, whatever things you have recorded, whatever scripts you have recorded, you can right click and you can say export into Java. So it will export the exact scripts into Java language so that you can continue working on that. Okay, and it's going to help you verify UI elements or UI objects and different types of data that are displayed on the web page. Okay, so it's going to help you in that as well, and it will help you in suite management if you have like hundreds of test cases or some 30 test cases. Then if you want to put them into a single module, or if you want to create a test suite, so it's going to help you, it's going to maintain that for you. Okay, then let's move to the next slide. This is how generally Selenium IDE looks like. So if you can see, it's a Firefox plugin actually. So when you start Firefox and if you go to Tools and Selenium IDE, this window will come up. Okay, so it has different things, different areas. So this is the URL which we give. So from this URL, basically our testing starts. Okay, so first we need to move to this URL. So once the page is displayed, then we start like putting next commands. Okay, and this is a toolbar actually. It helps you like play, record, make it fast, or make it slower, all these things. So this is a button which is basically playing all the test cases. So these are two test cases. Now it has certain number of steps what to do. Similarly, second test case has a certain number of steps to do, and I've grouped these two test cases into a single test suite. Okay, so this window will help you maintain all the test cases. Okay, this window is the toolbar in which you are going to play. This button is going to help you to play all the test cases, and this is going to help you play a single test case. And you can pause at the runtime when it's being recorded. You can pause, and here is one more button which is basically saying you to record. So if you click on this record button and if you go to your browser and start testing manually, so it will basically record all the steps that you are doing. Okay, if you look carefully, you can see it's saying open and practice form. So basically this URL is being opened in the first step. Similarly, in the next step, what you are doing, you're saying type and there is some value. Hi all, this is Selenium IDE. So basically what is happening, there is one element. This target is something, a text box or a like some sort of box where you can go and type something. So you're giving the command type and you're saying hi all Selenium, this is Selenium ID. It's going to this element, it is an identifier. So using this identifier, it finds that element and then it puts the data over there. Similarly, you can type one more data and it's performing a click operation on another element. So lots of some sort of clicks. Then it's a select, like it's saying that there is a drop down. Select is basically for drop down and it's selecting an option. So it's doing all this stuff. Then if you want to go a little deeper about the just know a little deeper, if you want to just change the command how it works, so you can click on a command and you can go to this window where it says like what is the target. Okay, you can change this target as well. If you click on this drop down, you'll get all the different targets available, or if you want to select a different target, you can click here and go to your browser and select that target, and you can say which command you want to execute, if it's a type or what is the value. And the next thing is here you can find the references about this. So if you're selecting this type command, and if you go within this, you're going to find out like how this thing works, and what are the like arguments for it, like what target is going to be, and what is the value, what is the meaning of this value. So you'll get some sort of documentation on that, and it's very much authentic documentation. You can understand it well. And this is the so we call it the scripts editor, and this is the record button, and here you can see when you are running the test cases, if it passes it becomes green. Okay, and it says that yeah, run 1, it has passed, green. If it's a failure, it will say like fail. And at the same time, if you click on logs, you can see like all the steps that it is performing. If something goes wrong or something like error happens, you can see that over here on this log like window. This is how a Selenium IDE basically looks. So let's go to the next step, and before going to the next step, I'll show you some demo on Firefox. So I'm going to start Firefox now, and if you go to Tools and Selenium IDE, it's going to be displayed. Okay, now we have the Selenium IDE over here and Firefox on the left. Okay, fine. Yeah. So now what we're going to do is we're going to record. Yes. The first thing is you need to make sure that this is recording now. So it's saying that now recording, and if you want to stop, click here to stop, right? So the first thing that we are going to do, we are going to move to one of the website which is actually having some awesome idea, like how you can test the Selenium test cases using Selenium ID, and if you have like understood WebDriver, that also you can test over there. So we're moving to this website. So the first task that we're doing is we're moving over here, and it has started recording that, so no issues. Now we are seeing a page in which we can see all the different types of elements that we can see. It's a text area, this is a text box, these are the three different check boxes, radio button, there is a date plugin, it's a jQuery plugin, you can use that one as well. Here is the URL if you want to enter something, there is a drop down, so all the types of data are available. Fine, so let's go ahead and click on like all the values that we want to like insert over here. So initially I'll remove everything, right click delete. So we are here, we have just opened the page, now it's in the recording phase. So let's go ahead and insert our data. So I'm clicking over here, and what I'm going to write is hello, I am a text area. Fine. Now when I move to the next element, just see here it's going to be updated that I'm going to enter this text, hello I am a text area, in this element. So when I click outside, when I move out of that, see now it has come over here. So it says command is type, and the ID is this one, and hello there, that's it. So now I am a text box, fine, and this is the option button which we have chosen. Then option 2, date is going to be suppose 1. Let's leave URL behind because we have already tested with you. Fine. Now these are the things which we have done. So if we look at these, we can see all the steps they have already recorded. We need to now stop the recording, done, and we can save this. If you click on if you press Control A, or if you go to File and save test case as, so you're going to get the window where you want to save it. Okay, so on the desktop maybe we are going to save it. Okay, Selenium IDE scripts. Within that, script 1. Fine. Now we have saved it. So if you want to execute it, so let's do one thing. Let's not make it fast, let's make it slower, and then let's go ahead and start executing. So I'm going to close this window now. That's done. And we're going to play it now. Okay, let's start. See, all the steps are complete, they're all green, and here you can see the run one has passed. So I'll show you the logs now, how, like, what are the steps that it has done in the meantime. So if you click in this, you'll basically see playing the test script 1, executing open slash practice form. So it's moving to that first home page, then executing type. Like, type is the command which it wants to execute, and where it want to type something, this is the identifier, like it's an ID. Okay, we'll learn more about the identifier later, but now I'd say you that this is the ID where it is basically typing something, and what it is going to type. Here is the data, what it is going to type, right? So it's saying then it is moving to the next, actually the next element, next command that it wants to execute. It's again a type, and it's typing something in this identifier. I am a text box. Fine. Then it moves to the click next element, where it does actually a click event, and it clicks on a checkbox. Then it clicks on a radio button. Then it selects a drop, like selects date. Selecting a date, it performs this operation, so the date is selected automatically. Then it goes to the next element where it is clicking on a link, and the last one, it's basically selecting a value from the drop down whose label is option 2. Okay, uh, till now we have already seen like how we can create a test case in Selenium IDE. We have got some fair idea how we are going to modify the different targets, and like what this target is, what the commands available, and what this value is. Okay, all these things you have got some fair idea. So we'll keep practicing them so that we'll get a proper concrete idea of that. But now we're going to move to the next part, which is like maintaining a test suite. Okay, maintaining a test suite. So how we're going to do that? So on the left side of the Selenium IDE, the test script we have created, we can create as many test scripts we want, and every test script or test case is having some 5 or 10 steps to execute. So when we group all these test cases together, then we call that a test suite. So that is very simple. You can like right click over here and click on new test case, then it will open up a new test case. You can click on that and you can click on edit. So as many like test cases you want, you can add. Then you can save the entire test cases as a test suite. So you need to go to file, click on save as, save test suite as, then you can save it. Okay, moving to the next slide. Yeah, the Selenium IDE commands. What are the commands that we are having in Selenium IDE? We have already seen these commands. Click, we have seen it's most widely used. If you want to click on something, some element, and if you want to click on a text box, maybe a command, maybe a button, submit button or something, you can use this command click. It can be on a link or a button, etc. Then if you want to type something in, so if it's an editable element, like if it's a text area, if it's a text box or a combo box in which you can try typing, so in those areas you can use the command type, and it's basically for like inputting the data using keyboard. Then we have select. If you have a drop down, like if you have a drop down in which there are hundreds of fields, if you want to select a specific field, so that drop down can be like manipulated using this select command, and we have already seen one example of that. So double click is like if you want to click on an element 2 times, like double click, that double click event, that is also supported in Selenium. So there are lots like lot many examples, lot many different IDE commands. You can always go to the drop down over here. So here the command drop down, you can click on these and you'll get a list of like all the commands available. When you select a command, it will show you the reference over here, like how you're going to use that command and what is the like need of that specific command and what are the arguments that you need to use for that command. So that is available within Selenium IDE itself. Then there are certain there are certain scenario when you need to verify something. If this page is having these, then the test case should pass. So those cases are called like assertion. So if you want to check if you have like if you are in a calculator application, if the calculator says that like if you are going to automate the addition operation, so if you select the first element and you click on add and again you select the second element, then you click submit, then the next value which is going to be displayed in a button, that should have the value of these two numbers that you have inserted, like that you have selected. If that is different, like there you're going to assert, there you're going to verify. If that value is different, then the test case should fail. If that is like the value that you're expecting, then it should pass. So in those scenarios, in those cases, you should use assert text present, assert text not present. There are different types of asserts available. You can also check verify. There are certain commands of Selenium verify as well. So assert is something which like which is a case which the tester knows beforehand. She should know that if I am giving these inputs, then this output is expected. Like if you're giving a username and a password in a login page, and if you're given the valid data, valid combination of username and password, then the next page should not have this login page, it should have your home page. Okay, so that is something which we are going to assert. So we're going to look at certain commands of assert, which is very important. Okay, now moving to the next slide. Using Selenium IDE, we have already created our first test script. We have recorded the steps, we have saved the script, and we have tried playing the test script. Now we have already created a test suite, and we have added multiple test scripts into that suite, saving the suite and playing the entire test suite. So let's do one thing, and I'll show you how you can use assert next. Okay, so I have already told you what assertions and verifications is to do. Check if a UI element is valid, if that element is present, if a text is present in an element, if the text is present at a specific location of the page, and if verification, like verification and assertion, they have very thin layer of difference. Verification is fail safe. Fail safe is like if you want to verify something in a step, and if the verification fails but still the entire test suite or test case is not going to fail, it's safe at that point of time. But if you're using assertion, and if that like assertion, if that check what you are doing, if that fails, then the test case is going to fail. Some of the examples of verify and assert is verify text present, verify page title, verify title, and assert not editable. So you might have seen some of the text boxes which are sometimes disabled, so they're not allowed, they're not given, the users are not given the access to edit them, to modify them. So in those cases you can check if that text is not editable. So these are the different assertions available. So let's go and check some of the assertions. So let me create a test suite first. I'll show you how we can have multiple test suites. So this is already one test script which is created, that is BMI script. Then I'm going to have I'm going to use different site, maybe seleniumhq.org, and we're going to create a new script. Right click, new test case. Okay, I'm clicking on that, I'm clicking on properties. I'm going to give the value as Selenium home page test. Done. Save it. Now it's saved. Okay, Selenium home page test. Now this test case, it's having all the information that it needs. The second test case, that is Selenium homepage, it doesn't have anything. So we're going to add certain commands. The first line is not visible, you just need to click on it. Then you'll have these all windows open, like they're blank, they don't have anything. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go to this URL. So we're going to use the open command, open, and the target is going to be this value, and this is nothing else, so we can save it. Going to the next step, what we're going to do, we're going to click on like about this thing, we're going to click. So what we're going to do, we're going to click, and the target is an element which we can inspect this way. About, we have clicked on that link, and this, after clicking on about, it's taking us to a new page in which we can do one thing. We can click on license, maybe 2-3 different links we're going to click. So to click license, we're going to create one more step. Click, select license. That's it. Let's now we have two test cases. You can select all the test cases that you have. Maybe you can have more than like 5 or 10 test cases. Now you can do one thing. You can select all of them. Go to file, save test suite. Okay, as save test suite as. If you click on that, it will open a pop-up in which you need to say which test suite you're going to save. So I'm going to go to desktop and Selenium IDE scripts, and I'm going to do test suite underscore 1. Now it is saved as a test suite. Now I have two set of Selenium test cases. This is one set of Selenium's like scripts. This is one other set of Selenium scripts. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start it from the beginning. So I'm going to click run all the tests, entire test suite. If I click on this, it's going to start from the beginning. You can check. Now it has come to seleniumhq.org. So basically it has completed both the test cases and it has called it a test suite. Now let's do one thing. Let's move to a page in which we're going to check something, like we're going to assert something and we're going to verify something. So I'm going to create one more test case and I'm going to call it as properties assert example. Okay, the first command is we need to go to a page and then we need to check the maybe the tab link, the title of the page. It should be specific one. Okay, way to automation. It's a good website in which you can get a lot of information about Selenium. Going to the home, and this page. Okay, let's go to Google. It has a long. Okay, this is the URL which you need to copy. Copied. Then we need to go to Selenium ID. The first thing is we need to open up google.co.in, save it, and asset example. In a second. Okay, and though you can see the screen now, right? And we have opened up this URL google.co.in. The next step is we're going to verify. Okay, we're going to verify. We're going to verify if the like the command is called assert title. Okay, and the value is going to be Google. Okay, see here from the documentation we can say the title of the current page gets the title of the current page. It's a title and the generated from get title. Fine. I'm going to see if it is running. So click on this, click on open, and let's run this test case. So it's going to google.com, then it's checking if the value is Google, but it failed. So let's check the log what it is saying. Actual Google did not match. Oh. Okay, fine. Need to give target. Then let's run it. See, we need to give the value like the value of the title in the target page, target field. So assert title, it checked if it is Google, then it passed. If we do any sort of changes like Google 2, okay, let's save it and let's run it again. See, it's going to fail in the second step because it is expecting Google, but the actual expecting Google 2, but the actual value was Google. So that's the case when the test case has failed. Okay, if it's fine, then it's going to do one thing. It's going to click on Gmail, right? So what we are going to do, we are going to click. We're going to find the element on which we want to click. So this is the Gmail link. So I clicked on that. Now, so if the title is proper, then it will search for link Gmail and it will proceed. If the title is wrong, it should not go ahead. So if you look at the difference between assertion and verification, you can see verification is fail safe even if the title is not same, but it will move to the next step. It's not that much important step, but if it is very important, the title needs to be Google, then we should go for assertion. If the title is not same, it should fail. So we have used assert title present. Okay, assert title. Then if the title is Google 2, okay, if the title is Google, then it should click on the link Gmail. Now let's save it and play from beginning. See, here it is saying the assert title Google, it passed, then it is executing link Gmail. Okay, test case passed. If we do one thing, if we change the value of target, like value of the title button, then it's going to act differently. Let's run it again from beginning. It's going to Google. In the first step it will fail, it will not move to the second step because it is expecting Google 2, but it found Google. So the assertion actually failed and the test case failed, so it didn't even try the next step. If you want to verify the title, so verify title. So now it's something which is saying that if the link like it will check for the title. If the title is Google 2, it will show that it's okay. If it's not Google 2, then it's not going to fail, it's still going to execute the next step. Okay, let's start from beginning. See, the test case has like it has executed the third step as well. So if you go to the bottom, the actual value is Google, but it was expecting Google 2. Okay, so it is an error. Actually it's verifying the title, it couldn't verify that, like there is some error, but still it executed the next step. So that is the only difference between assert and verify. Okay, fine. Then okay, I think assertion, and this is the only difference, this is fail safe and this is fail fast. Assertion will fail if anything, if the assertion is not matching. Verification will not fail the test case if even if the verification is failing. Well, of course, Selenium IDE helps us in a lot of ways, like lots and lots of ways, but there are certain limitations of this IDE. The first problem is it is only supported in Firefox. If you want to test a specific scenario, or if you want to raise a bug or raise a ticket, raise an issue, then if you want to attach some Selenium script, then you should make sure that this script is run only on Firefox, because there is no IDE available for Google Chrome or Internet Explorer or Safari. Other browsers, they don't have any Selenium IDE. So that is the first problem. We don't have support for other browsers. Yes, the next problem is no programmatic approach. Suppose you want to you want to perform certain task repeatedly. You want to use a loop of a programming language. So in a loop, you can like perform certain steps again and again until some of the conditions are like, unless these conditions fail. So the problem is we don't have any support for programming languages. So that's the problem. Then there are limited sets of commands. Okay, and like Selenium IDE, it has like very useful set of commands, but all the commands are not possible, and it's very difficult to imitate them on Selenium IDE. So, and if the page is dynamic, like we have seen an example recently, if the page is having some of the XPaths which used to change a lot of times, or it is having some ID which used to change sometime. So if the page is really dynamic, okay, if there are a lot of like dynamism in the page, like some of the like windows are opening on top of another window, or like there is a good UI which is very dynamic, then it's very difficult to implement Selenium IDE over there. Okay, so these are the basic problems of Selenium IDE. The problem of programmatic approach and Firefox supporting is the main cause for which we needed to learn Selenium WebDriver. That's the next version, or Selenium RC, which came which was another solution for Selenium IDE. So we'll learn about Selenium RC, but before that, I will show you certain things in Selenium IDE which you have not yet seen. So if now we have written all these things, okay, now what I want to do is I want to like run them using Java. So Selenium RC is a solution which can run your test cases which are generated from your Selenium IDE. So if you want to export these things into a programming language so that you can add your own logic and do other stuff, you can add something else, you can do it in a better way, programmatic way. So what you are going to do, you are going to go to File, Export, Export test suite as, will basically look for the Java parts. So these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different options for Java. It is saying Java, JUnit 4 and WebDriver, Java, TestNG, WebDriver. So this JUnit and TestNG, these are the testing, like unit testing frameworks. We'll talk about them when we study WebDriver. Then the fourth option, you can see it is RC. So if you choose Java JUnit 4 RC, Java JUnit 3 RC, it's going to generate the script in RC. We're not going to go, we're not going to study about the RC codes because they're not used anymore. We have got the next version of RC which is called as WebDriver. So if we export as Java JUnit 4 and WebDriver, if we click on that, it will say where you want to save that. Like test suite 1 dot Java, it'll store over there. So now we're going to look at the code which it has like saved for us. Test suite 1, this one, it's a Java file we can open with text edit. So you can see this is the Java code which it has written. It's a class test suite 1, and yeah, it's creating a new test suite. It's adding all the test classes, bmi script.class, selenium homepage.class. So these classes are also generated. If you want to have a look at them, we can go. Okay, it's not generated. Okay, we need to generate them specifically, like individually. If you want to generate them, you can go to this page, file, click on export, test case as Java JUnit 4, driver Java, yes, this one. Now it is done. It has exported them into test 1. If you open that with no text editor, you will see the Java code, and you can basically see what are the steps that it is performing. So it's going to give you like start to write your Java WebDriver code. So this is one of the best examples of Selenium IDE. You can use it to start writing your code, and every step that you do, it is saying assert equals and get title, it should be equal to Google 2. So these are the things. If it is having some error, it says that verification has error, like it's not breaking the test case. So we'll go to those steps later when we start learning about Selenium WebDriver. But now I think we have got fair idea of how Selenium IDE is working. So I'll give you certain examples, certain websites, and certain assignments which you can do on top of these things. You'll face certain problems, and but there will be solutions for all of them. We'll look at them. And okay, now you have understood what are the limitations of Selenium IDE is. So it's just a Firefox plugin, and it doesn't have any programmatic approach, and there is a limited set of commands, and it's very difficult to implement Selenium IDE on dynamic pages. Okay, let's move to the Selenium remote control, which is having certain like benefits over Selenium IDE. It says that it's a cross browser testing compatible product of Selenium. So it was the only limitation of IDE, which now we have solved. Now we can test our test cases across different browsers. So all the browsers which are supported by Selenium RC, they can be tested once we write the script in Selenium RC. And the first part is it's an open source Java framework, so it of course it will support it will run across all the different environments that we're having, because Java is cross platform, it runs everywhere. So we call it Selenium driver version 1, because when Selenium RC was there and when Selenium WebDriver came into picture, this is called WebDriver 2. So this is Selenium driver version 1, and it basically works in a concept in which you will see it in the next page, in which it acts as a proxy. So when you script want to execute certain tasks, it executes them on the browser, but in between them there is Selenium RC, which acts as a proxy server. It imitates the browser to your code. So there are lots of ways, like lots of things happening in the background. It loads a Selenium core, which is basically a JavaScript library, into the browser, so the browser becomes heavy. Now the browser is something which needs to execute lots of tasks. Then our commands, like if we have written some code in Java, PHP, Python, etc., which are Selenium RC supported languages, so those scripts are like transferred onto the Selenium RC server. The Selenium RC server is going to convert those code, then it's going to translate them and pass them onto the browser. Now the Selenium code which resides in the browser, it will try to execute that task in the browser. If we go to the next step, we are going to see how it is basically working. So it's the browser which which is the only thing which we need to automate this browser, and there is one web application which we used to test manually. Now we're going to test it automatically. So what are the steps? Now we have written some code in a language like Java, Ruby, Python, whatever language it is, and we have written it in the Selenium format, in the Selenium RC format, RC supported format. Now we have started our process, that's a Java process. Now it is running. It will try to communicate with the remote control server, RC server. This is the RC launcher. There are two things. One is launcher, which helps you connect to RC. There is one other thing which is called HTTP proxy within RC, which basically communicates with the remote browser and it tries to execute them. Now you have connected to RC in the step 1. Then step 2, launcher opens up the browser and loads Selenium core into the browser. Now the browser is having Selenium core. Then we say execute step number 1. Then what happens? We think that the step is going to be executed directly on the browser, but now this HTTP proxy, it basically imitates the browser, and whatever we submit is consumed by HTTP proxy. Whatever we submit is consumed by this RC server. Then this proxy's concern is to execute them on the browser. How it is going to communicate with the browser and how it is going to pass them to the Selenium core is its concern. Then our application is under the test. Whatever steps we perform, they are going to be executed in the browser, and that's it. And here is the web application, which is continuously being monitored by this browser. Whatever request we send and whatever response we get, they are being displayed on this web page, and the application is under test. So this is how basically RC works. So yeah, there are like lots of demerits of RC, limitations of RC. If we see, it's a slow processing because of the presence of RC server. If you look at these, now we are sending some data not directly to the browser, not automating the browser directly. There is one middleman in between, that is the RC server, and it does the heavy lifting task. Also, when we try to communicate with the browser, we need to use its proxy. We pass the data through the proxy. So because of this thing, it's getting slower. So that's one limitation of Selenium RC. Then there are limited number of APIs and functionalities. So the APIs are not that robust, they're not that easy to learn, not that easy to understand. So they're limited, and all the functionalities, they are not achieved by these RC APIs. That was the problem. Then poor set of APIs as compared to WebDriver version 2. When we start learning WebDriver version 2, we'll see that the APIs are very much like enhanced. They are very easy to use. They are very much meaningful. So these are the problems which we face in RC. Then WebDriver is extensible as compared to RC. If you want to do some sort of operation on your own, like if you want to give one new implementation of WebDriver, how you want to do it in a different way than how WebDriver used to do it, then you can do that. But RC it's very difficult. It's not possible to do that in RC. Then there is no mobile browser support, but in Selenium WebDriver, you can automate the mobile applications, mobile sites, not applications, mobile websites. Then there is actually no grid support, or no, or there is very poor grid support in Selenium RC. Grid support is running your test in parallel across multiple systems at the same time, so it will minimize your time. You can have like hundreds of test cases executed in just minutes. So that's what Selenium is like. WebDriver used to help you with, but RC doesn't have that benefit. Okay, so these are the problems. You can have a look at these, how it basically works. And well, we can go to the next step. So there are certain links to explore more, and that's it.